Ah, here we go. 5 and 3. Kasparov chess, 1877. Good rating. We've got a Ruy Lopez. I don't think Kasparov would have played the old Steinitz defense, but we will see how this goes. Oh, you're supposed to take with the bishop. Forgot. It's a good knight here, so the idea is to keep that knight and take with the bishop. Anyway, still a game. Just not the main line. So I'm going to try and develop my bishops and keep them. So I want this bishop to come out here and then retreat back here if it gets attacked. Okay, and he moves to straighten out the center right away. Makes sense. There is a funny kind of tactic here, but it doesn't work. I guess because, you know, that can be taken with check. So if I took here, he took back, and I took there with check, then I could take the knight. Well, let's see if he's noticing that. Yeah, he just pushes the pawn forward. I figured he might do that. So if I go here, he might trade. He could just attack it with the pawn. I can't. Oh, well, then I can take here. So he does trade. And I get the bishops versus knight. Bishop pair versus bishop and knight. Okay. This looks like a good square for the bishop. Push this pawn forward to defend it, and also secure the pawns on this side of the board. Aha, he wants to get rid of the bishop pair right away. Let's not make it too easy for him. So I can bring my queen out here. But I don't really have enough pressure on this knight to do much damage. But he doesn't have any great squares to move the knight to. Anyway, I'm going to put my rook on the e-file next. Rook here, looking at that knight. Yeah, he just decides to trade. He really wants to trade. I could avoid the trade again just to be annoying. Refusing to give in to his plans. Still want to put my rook in the center. Rook to the e-file. Let's see, he can play here to harass this bishop, but okay, so I'm done running. Let's see if he wants to waste another move taking my bishop. Maybe double the rooks on the e-file, maybe get a rook to here. Yeah, if I drop back with the bishop, he can push that pawn forward. So this square or this square would just get kicked again. He's very intent on trading. Kasparov would not approve. Okay, so what I'm planning on doing is pushing the c-pawn forward, undermine these advanced pawns here. So if I go here, he takes, I take, so plus my queen is under attack, so let's go here. Now bishop here makes some sense, looking at this pawn, but I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is take this pawn, or if he takes, I'll take back with the pawn. Then I can bring my bishop out. See if Kasparov chess. No, he doesn't have a plan. Just well, he wants this passed pawn. I guess that's a plan. Let's blockade it. Here's a good diagonal for the bishop. Where is he going with that knight? I don't know. Here? Yeah, let's just stop the knight from coming to this square. No, I just brought it back there to protect against the mate threat. Yeah, if I go there, okay, do this first. If I put my queen here, then he can just skewer it with his rook. Yeah, if he can't take this pawn because of the check. As long as my queen is here, let's bring the rook into the game. I'm thinking of bringing the rook to here. Looking at that pawn and looking at that pawn. Ah, changed his mind, did he? Supporting the rook there. Aha. I can maybe put the bishop here next. I can still put the bishop there, right? I am unblockading that pawn. Might be a problem. So, yeah, bishop takes pawn check is queen. Queen for rook and bishop, and queen and pawn for rook and bishop. It's usually a good deal. Then the problem here will be this passed pawn. Okay, so I'll keep him tied down, I guess, like this. Yeah, that passed pawn might be more of a problem than I've allowed for. There's rook behind it, I can't really do much. I can put my king in front of the pawn, but then he can sort of wander his knight in. And maybe I'll be able to pick off his knight with the check. Like there, for example. Then we're good. Okay, so where else? Where else should I go? Just check here. I've got extra pawns on both sides of the board. Let's just go into a winning king and pawn endgame. And the easiest way to win. It's a passed pawn that he can't stop. He's going to move anyway. I don't know about this guy. Just mate him. And there we go. Okay, well, that was a good game. Let's see, maybe we can play a rapid game here. I'm not sure what Kasparov's game plan there was for winning that game. I mean, the strategy of just trading off all the pieces, it's a way to maybe get a draw when you're black, but it's unlikely to produce a win. Maybe he's just a endgame expert and was hoping to get into some kind of favorable endgame. Anyway, I'm playing a Sicilian while I'm talking. Going for a classical, I think. We have the main line open Sicilian so far. Normally they bring the knight out to defend this pawn. The check, though, it's possible. That's a possible move. Normally they take. So we didn't take. You have to ask yourself why. Why did he play that move? This is a useful move anyway, not just kicking the bishop, but controlling the square so the knights can't come in. So, move you often see in you know, key part of the knight off defense, but you see it in many other Sicilians as well. And so he was the one who wasted a move, I guess. Because if he had just gone here, I wouldn't have gotten this this pawn push in. Okay, so he's setting up maybe like an English attack. So let's go ahead and kick this knight now. It's not a pure English attack, which is just bringing this knight out here right away. Whoa, that is something you don't see every day. Usually they go back and the second choice is to take. Going here, I can just take it. And I have these unopposed pawns in the center, pretty strong. In fact, I can push immediately and threaten this fork. Can I push immediately? Yeah, I've got queen and knight behind it. And having those two pawns in the center is a good thing anyway. You know, often openings involve sacrificing a pawn to get a big gambit. Openings involve sacrificing a pawn to get a big center like that. Okay, so I pinned my knight. I can put this knight here. Pinning the knight, I guess, undefends this pawn, huh? I can push this pawn forward. Where is his knight going? His knight will go here. And I can play the bishop here. I think that's still fine too. Maybe a little more stable than trying to put my knight there. Putting my knight there had some fringe benefits, like it was attacking this pawn, but so I needed to unpin right away. And so what ideas does white have here? Exchanging out, knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes. Yeah, it doesn't even damage my pawns. Could take with the bishop and try and have a strong knight here. There's some merit to that idea. It'd be a difficult knight to dislodge. Just leaves that there and takes here. Leaves the knight there. And yeah, he's doing it. And I don't have a good piece that I can use to chase that knight with. And my queen is tied down, defending this bishop for a while at least. Although, you know, I could just put my queen here, let him take the bishop, mess up my pawns, and then take here. Does that actually work? Let's think about this. I lift the queen up, he takes the bishop with check, I take back. Then it's his turn, he defends the pawn, I castle queenside. I think that's okay for me. He could put his knight here instead of taking here. Because the knight here would be hitting my queen and hitting the pawn. Probably, oh, he does none of the above. Okay, so I'm going to castle queenside first, or should I take the pawn? I take the pawn, he moves the knight with check here. So I can't take it with the queen, and then I lose my queen. So let's castle. Don't have to be in a rush to grab that pawn. It's not going anywhere, although he could defend it. So he values the knight more highly than the damage he would cause to my pawn structure over here. That's interesting. Good sign. Good player. That is a good knight. So I'm going to move my king one more space over so that he can't check me with the knight, or the bishop for that matter, because it's a light squared bishop. Now I really am threatening to take this pawn. Let's see, I take the pawn. Where can his knight go? If he takes the bishop, I'll take back. If he goes over here... Oh, okay, so he defends the pawn. Yeah, I was going to say... Didn't see any great discoveries for that knight. So what now? Well, I can maneuver my knight around. I'm looking at this pawn again, and this looks like a nice square too. Maybe knight there to there. I mean, I have a knight as well. It's not just him. Ah, so now he does that maneuver with his knight. Okay, I'll just drop back with my queen. I'm hitting the knight. I'm defending along here in case he has some ideas of sacrificing. And he can't come here because of that pawn. And this pawn is under fire, so it's kind of a double attack unless he can find a move that saves the knight and the pawn. Okay, I'm sorry, it was not a double attack because his bishop was defending there. Okay, well, I liked this location for my knight anyway. Let's go ahead and go here. Let's see, yeah, so it looks like he can't push this pawn forward because I'll take his knight. That was a good move. That was good. Because the bishop, queen and the bishop line up against my pawn there. What to do? Yeah, this is the classical attack on the light squares. He's got the light squared bishop and I have the dark squared bishop, so if he can get an attack going on the light squares, he's got a good position there. Well, I only have one move that defends the knight that I see, which is queen to c6, queen here. And I don't like it. I don't like it going into that battery. That potential discovery. But, well, maybe I'll be able to unpin. Maybe I can unpin in time. Anyway, white is playing a good game as far as I can tell. Other than that opening choice, I think it's a little less than optimal, but I didn't refute it, so. Oh, we're just trading. Is there a trick at the end of all this? I think normally you would try and get some more mileage out of that pin, unless there's an immediate thing that he can do here. He's maybe threatening to push this c-pawn forward. So he's going to double. Okay, so I'm going to go here so that I can push my b-pawn and kick his knight. I'm just wondering, I mean, he can come back here. I guess that's good for him. I was trying to chase the knight away so I could push this pawn forward, but I can't see that happening actually. Yeah, I could push it forward as a sacrifice, I guess. Before he played this move, I could have considered that, but I don't see it happening now. Maybe I'll walk over with my king to support the rooks. Maybe I put my rook here. Just take that pawn or threaten to take it. Then I'd have a pass pawn here. That would be pretty strong. That's an idea. Where can he hop in with the knight? He can hop in here to this square with the knight, so I've got to be wary of that. If I move both my rooks to the side, his knight can come in here, hit this pawn. Or else does it hit? Threatens to go here. No, not really. Threatens to take that rook and this pawn. Interesting. Yeah, let's go here. So he can't go here just yet. I was just thinking, you know, doubling would be a way to try and win that pawn. Anzava has defended, yeah, so I go here. If he plays the knight there, I have to move my rook. Or I could take, he takes my knight, rook, I take his rook. Oh no, he takes my rook with check. Okay, well, let's see if he finds it. Anyway, there's no pin here anymore, so I'm happy to get my rook away from the e-file at this point. See, what I was talking about is if he goes here, he's attacking my rook. I go here, I'm attacking his rook. So that would all work out well, except that when he takes my rook, it's with check, and I have to move my king, and then he can take my other rook. That would be bad. So I should move my king over somewhere. Putting my king here walks into a fork. Yeah, so he just goes there. I'm not sure what he was thinking there. There was no longer a pin on this file. In fact, I'm not sure. I think I prevented there from being a pin. Prevented that from becoming a pin. I see. He can take it back with his knight. Interesting. Okay, I'll put my bishop here. So he wants to go into this endgame, huh? Okay, let's go after these pawns over here on this side of the board. Try and keep his knight occupied. The knight can come in here with the fork, but I can move my bishop. It's not much of an advantage, but I think bishop with pawns on both sides of the board is a slight advantage over the knight. Maybe he's thinking that because this pawn is on a dark square that I've got a bad bishop, but I'm not sure that's true. I guess I have to take. If I take this one, he takes this one, I take back, and the pawns are all on one side of the board. Okay, now watch out for the fork. Move the bishop first. Yeah, let's just move it. Then my king will be free to wander in. You go after this pawn. My king is closer to the action than his, but it'll take some steps. Okay. I go here, he takes the pawn, the bishop. I take back. His king comes here, I go here. His king comes here, I go here. His king comes here, I queen. His king is outside the square of the pawn. So he can take the bishop now. I go here, takes the bishop, I take back. I go here, he takes the bishop, I take back. He brings his king over, I step forward. He brings his king over. I push the pawn. Brings his king here. I take this pawn. Is that correct? King here. Knight takes, pawn takes. King here. King here. Here, pawn push, king here, and I can't put my king there. Is there another way to do this? I go here, takes the bishop, I take back, king comes up. Let's see, I step sideways, king comes over, I step here, king cannot come here to attack my pawn or defend his pawn. I think I can still play this. You have to be so careful in these endgames. This I am okay with. Maybe after the game I can show you that line. I get here to this pawn, and his king, his knight is out of play. Bishops have influence on both sides of the boards. That is the value of the bishop. I don't have to give up a pawn. I can defend it. His king can't get closer to this pawn. His knight can't get closer either. All he can do is take the bishop. If he takes it, I'll have to decide whether to take with the king. Actually, I should just take with the king. That'll be simplest. And then I never queen this rook pawn, but I use it as a decoy and then run back over here and grab these pawns. So he's not, yeah, I'll let him take a few pawns because I'm going to queen here. Okay, he resigned. Well, that was a nice game. Yeah, let's go to the analysis board just for a second. Wake up. There we go. And then go back to this position. And I went here, and he went here, and I stepped forward. The first point is that if he takes and then tries to stop the pawn, it just queens. Good example of the rule of the square. When it's, the square that he covers is here. I'm outside that, so he can't take there. The question was, I go here, he goes here, and I went here. So now he's one step closer, and he's inside the square of the pawn. Like so. So I can't just push the pawn, but I thought what I could do is come over here. This is the position I was seeing, and I was noticing he can't even attack my pawn, so he can't actually stop me from grabbing this pawn, and I'll have an outside pass pawn, and that will win. What else could he do? Let's see. After the exchange, I go here. He could try coming up this way. Yeah, that's as close as he can get to my pawn, but I take here. And I have this passer over here. He's got to, actually this is already winning. But even if you put his king in front of it, then my king would just walk over to this side of the board and take these pawns while his king has to round up this pawn. So a winning in the game either way. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.